This Chat with the Experts is brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to Chat with the Experts. I'm Kyle Hawk, and I'm really excited because I'm joined today by Karen Elaine and Mina Starziak-Hawk, stars of HGTV's Good Bones. And we're talking about home rehab today, and we're going to learn a little bit from Karen and Mina about their experiences. We were just discussing the difference between flipping a house and some of the home renovations that you're doing, and help people understand a little bit more about why some of these revitalizations are so important. I want to talk a little bit more about how we're seeing this play out in Indianapolis. Karen, you mentioned earlier about in some of the areas you're working and how important it is for those communities. Talk with us a little bit more about some of the neighborhood revitalizations that are happening here in Indianapolis and why that for the communities it's so important.
Well, I can only speak to Fountain Square and Bates Hendricks, which are neighborhoods that kind of got a little bit down on their luck 30 years ago. And houses started getting a little decrepit, and there started to be vacant houses. So the people who stay suffer the negative consequences of that happening. And so far, the people in the neighborhood have appreciated us coming in and taking houses that were populated by raccoons and transients and drug dealers and fixing them up and putting homeowners in them.
Sure.
So there's somebody who's got some skin in the game and who takes care of their yard and keeps it painted. I haven't heard any complaints about that yet. So hopefully.
No, I don't. I don't know what the question was, but I don't know if that.
Did that answer it?
I don't know.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
And this is something, your show, there's a lot of, I guess, buzz about this idea happening, not just here in Indianapolis, but other places. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you feel like other communities are going to start to see these revitalizations as well, as sort of this idea gains more popularity and people see what happens in these communities?
Well, I think for my age group, there's definitely been a change. When I graduated from college, all my friends got their jobs, got married, had kids, and moved to the suburbs. That's just what you did because the school systems were better and you could get more house for your money. And I think when the Super Bowl came to Indy, it spurred a big investment back into the city and making it beautiful. And then it kind of started pulling everyone back in. And now people my age are moving back from the suburbs, or the ones that like maybe didn't have kids left yet are realizing like we can stay downtown and be so close to everything and all this cool stuff that we love to do on the weekends. And there's more and more opportunities for school, like when you do have kids and you don't have to go out to the suburbs 45 minutes from downtown. We've got everything you need downtown. And I think that's a newer thing, and it's increasing the demand for housing. So there's lots of these little neighborhoods around downtown that are popping back up and becoming more popular. Yeah. And we happened to be in Fountain Square when that cultural trail cut through, and that was kind of the benchmark. Yeah. Once the city put the money in with the cultural trail, it was no longer up and coming like it had been for 20, 30 years. Like it was kind of there. And since that happened, property values have just skyrocketed very quickly there, which is part of the reason that we've moved adjacent to Bates Hendricks as well as staying in Fountain Square, because we've done our jobs. We bought properties, we raised the value, and now we can't afford them anymore. And that's good.
We haven't done it alone. There are a lot of investors who are also working in Fountain Square. I think us focusing on one geographic area and making that part of our business model is what's a little bit different. And I can only hope that that business model translates into other places.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's Indianapolis has really been a shining example of what can happen in terms of a downtown coming back alive. And I think what you guys are doing, obviously the exposure that you're getting and the projects you're working on is really doing a lot to spread the word about Blue Indy,
I feel like is giving us a little bit of positive reinforcement for our decisions, because it feels like we bought some houses in Bates Hendricks and we're like, we went a little far. We're out on the fringe. Blue Indy pops up on 2 of our blocks. And we're like, all right, well, if they're putting that much money in, okay, maybe we made good choices.
Right, yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah, so it's funny.
So I want to talk a little bit about some of the biggest challenges you face as you're working on these homes, and people can watch the show now, so people are getting an insight into exactly what you're dealing with. What are some of the most recurring common things that you're running up against as you walk into these homes?
No foundation.
I think that's the biggest issue is foundation and framing stuff.
Yeah.
We buy a lot of our homes from the cities, like vacant property list through Send, and they're the worst of the worst. We buy them for $5,000. They've sat vacant sometimes for 15 years with maybe half a roof. So it's been raining inside, which really does a number on your foundation and framing. And so all the time, it's not like our show starts where we're putting the drywall back up, everything's good, and you just finish it out. We usually have a solid 6 to 8 weeks in the project just on foundation and framing to get it ready to do anything else.
Yeah.
And the other problem we face is, where do we run the HVAC ductwork? Mina makes these beautiful floor plans, and we always forget to make space for the ductwork.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah.
We always figure it out. It always works out fine, but you'd think we would be better at that now.
So are there some prerequisites that you look for in a house before you decide to start a project?
We look for location and price. That's really all that matters. We can fix anything else.
Yeah, a lot of... it's not just kitsch for the show. At least 50% of the houses we buy, we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Someone just sends us because the market is so hot in Fountain Square and in Bates Hendricks, there's not time. If I'm like, well, hold on, let me go check it out, I'll get back to you tomorrow, there's another buyer. Yeah. So if something comes across our desk that's this price and this location, I send a purchase agreement, done. Because we can fix everything. If it's a higher price, say they're wanting $80,000, then we'll definitely get in and look at the foundation. Because if the foundation's sturdy and the framing's good, maybe we can afford an $80,000 house.
Sure.
But most of our rehabs we put about $180,000 into.
Wow.
So it's rebuilding a new house pretty much.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the important things is we try to retain the original character of the home. So we're going to reframe it.
Which is tricky sometimes.
It is tricky. We're going to try and reframe it in a way that lets it look like it used to look.
It's like an homage to the past.
Well, because the neighborhood does have a character, and we want to retain the character of the neighborhood. We don't want to change it.
Right.
But we do want to improve these homes. So we want to put really weather-resistant siding. We don't want to put vinyl siding because the first hailstorm, which come every year in Indiana, your vinyl siding is ruined. So that's why we use fiber concrete siding, because it's a little more durable. And we try
and it's prettier.
It's so
Sorry,
pretty.
I have attitude about vinyl.
She does.
The hailstorms never even crossed my mind. I'm like, it's just cheap and I don't like it. It's pretty.
But I think it's important to retain the character of the neighborhood. Different people have different ideas, and so some of the houses look a little different.
When we drive through the neighborhood all the time, I'm like, why did they not ask me before they painted it that color?
Right.
If everyone would just consult us first.
Well,
in my perfect world.
It's such a great experience walking into these homes, especially when the character's been maintained and you can feel that. I think there's a big demand for that. I think as a lot of people are invested in these neighborhoods and moving back towards downtown really look for that. So it's a really
well, and
really
a lot of
cool
time,
thing.
maybe what all that's left. The house we did on Parkway last season that had been raining. That's the one I was talking about. It had been rained in for 10, 15 years. The stair rail, that was about all we could retain. And so we did.
Yeah.
Everything else was new, but sometimes that's all we have left to work with. So we try. Yeah, we try to do what we can.
The other thing we try to do is when we retain the exterior character in any part of the interior that we can, we try to make floor plans that work for the way people live now. Because a shotgun floor plan doesn't really work for anyone anymore. Sure. And that's a tricky part. And that's where Mina's genius comes in. She is idiot savant with a floor plan. She walks into a house that's full of trash. She's like, well, the kitchen goes here and the dining room goes here.
She
doesn't really talk like that. She doesn't talk like that.
Well, before we go to break here, I do want to ask, because you take a home, half the roof's been gone, there's raccoons living inside. What are some of the craziest things you find when you're first walking into a home before you start the project?
So much poop. So much poop. It's never shocking. It's always shocking how much there is. One of the houses that we're doing for this season, we walked into the basement and it looks like they built the house on a 20-foot diameter well, and there was a baby doll floating face down.
Oh my
which
God.
is terrifying.
It was.
In like the 4 feet of water,
Yeah.
and then just a chair sitting in the middle of the water at the bottom of the stairs. And like, it looks like, okay, that's the timeout chair, and that was the baby doll that they cuddled in the
That's
basement.
terrifying.
Yeah.
A lot of dirty mattresses.
Sure.
We have a lot of squatters, but it's all just kind of
And the
standard
raccoon who
operating.
refused to leave.
Mom had a duel
you know.
with a raccoon. Like literally, the raccoon ran out the window and back in the other one, and mom chased it back the other. I mean, a chasing match. Just recommend not leave the house.
It's home, so
Yeah.
that's tough. Well, we are going to take another quick break here, but we've got more to come with Karen and Mina, stars of HGTV's Good Bones. We're having a really good chat. We're going to talk about some DIY projects and more coming up. Stay tuned. You're listening to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List.
10 million verified reviews. Search for local providers from anywhere in the country. Trusted ratings. Convenient offers for services from highly rated companies. Tips and advice from the award-winning Angie's List magazine. These are just a few of the benefits that come with an Angie's List membership, including a new free membership plan. Learn more and join for free at angieslist.com today.